Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy New Year, happy 2025. We're thrilled to have you here for another fabulous show, another fabulous year of shows on USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is Authentic Achievements. And the star of our show is KIM-ADELE Randall, who's going to be joining us from London. And we've been doing this show together for a number of years. I can't actually remember how many, so I'm going to ask her. But today we're going to be talking about resetting for success for 2025. KIM-ADELE Randall is the founder of Authentic Achievements platform. She has her own platform where she interviews people, so you are more than welcome to reach out to her. She'll give us her contact information. And she's been helping people all over the world for a long time. She works with corporates, she's worked with individuals, and she's actually morphed what she was doing to what she is doing today. She's also an author. Let's bring her out and hear about what she has planned for herself for 2025. Welcome, KIM-ADELE. Hello.
Hey, hi, Dr. Jacalyn. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. Did you celebrate? Did you do anything special?
We did. So we actually had a quiet one. Obviously, last year, as you know, I lost my dad. So I had my mum here for New Year's Eve. And I also have my little girl who's 8. So we went out early doors for a meal, came back. I sent those two to bed. And then at 11:30, promised I'd wake them up so we could all see the new year together. So I woke them up at 11:30 to see the countdown. And then we all went to bed. So it was very quiet, but very nice. And just making those little adjustments to make it work, rather than make them stay up until midnight and then be out for a few days. It's amazing how making just a subtle adjustment allows everybody to still take part, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I can't believe that Scarlett is 8.
I
can't believe. So I was just going to say, I thought I met you when she was 4. Is that possible?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I was going to say we've been doing this for 4 years. And it goes in the blink of an eye, doesn't it? I kind of look at it and go, how's she 8 already? And then how are we in 2025 already? But I think that is the thing. Is that somebody said to me last year, and it made me smile. They said that when you're a parent, the days are long, but the years are short. It was like, actually, I think that's true of all human beings. Sometimes in the day, it feels like a very long day, but all of a sudden you blink and a year's gone. And it's because we're not as intentional maybe as we could be.
I totally agree with you. I can't believe that it's 25 years into 2000. I mean, it just seems like it has flown by. And you're right, we're here for a blink of an eye. And if we're not intentional, we can miss out on a lot of things, especially if you think about it. People are making typically, I should say, substantial changes in their life as of yesterday. All of a sudden, everything's going to change. And I was having this conversation with someone, and I said, you do realize that you have to actually put the effort in. You can say you want this or that to happen, but you have to actually do something. And what do you think it is about when people set these new goals for themselves and they're into it for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes a month, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, forget it. And because they don't know their why, that's what I think it is. They don't have the reason. But do you think so I'm asking you 2 things. So let me go back. What do you think the reason is?
So I think the reason is we're not always that committed to the goal. So we set some of these goals because we think that they're the goals that we should set. And we think that that might be what other people will expect of us. And therefore, we're not really that committed to them because we haven't, they aren't something that holds really dear to us. You know, if it's got to be something that when you set a goal, that actually the thought of not achieving it is just too hard to bear. That you know you're going to do whatever it takes to keep going to achieve it. They're the goals we achieve. The ones we don't achieve are the ones where actually we weren't that committed, I don't think, in the first place to making that goal. You know, I've set hundreds and hundreds of New Year's resolutions over the years, and the only one that I've stuck to is the one I set last year, which was to stop making New Year's resolutions. I've done pretty well. I'm in year 2, and I haven't done it because we kind of say we're going to do it. We're going to do it at this point. So we're not going to make any changes until this point, and then we're going to do it. And we often will say we're going to do them in January, which for a lot of people is the most depressing month. It feels like it's the longest one till payday. There's not as much to look forward to because we've just got through Christmas and people are now starting to think about holidays and things. So why would we assume we're going to suddenly affect changes that are probably going to make us make more effort, do more things, take more action into a month where we already feel a little bit low? So it's not a surprise that so many of the New Year's resolutions don't work. Because actually, if the goal were really important to us when we're setting it, we wouldn't go, well, on New Year, I'm going to do this. We go, today, I'm going to do this today, and I'm going to make this change today. And it's the changes that we make consistently that are the ones that drive the action that achieve the goal.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you anymore. And it's funny that you said that because I was with my family and just said, you know, what do you want to happen for next year? I didn't ask what resolutions do you have, because I do think it's a matter of being and a matter of doing. So for me, I didn't make a resolution about cutting out sugar, but I decided, this is like 4 or 5 days ago, I'm not eating any more sugar, because I literally was getting up and eating cookies. I mean, why? There's nothing. And and I'm somebody who is taking care of my teeth. I'm very like obsessed with my teeth. And I'm thinking of putting all this sugar into my body, and it's not good for you. So I decided I wasn't going to make a resolution. I thought, I'm going back to not eating sugar. I did it for years and I got off of it when I was taking care of my mom, and I'm just not doing it. So it's not a resolution. It's just, it's not healthy. I don't want to do it anymore.
That's it. And I think they're the bits, isn't it? It's about taking the action. It doesn't matter if actually the action you took was on New Year's Day. But it's about saying, actually, I've not done this because it's a New Year resolution. I've done this because this is the action I'm taking today. And I'm going to keep taking that action for as long as that action serves me. Because I think, for me, one of the things I've tried really hard to do in the last couple of years is be much more intentional with my time. And be more forgiving with myself when I find myself lapsing into being unintentional, but spotting it and making a change. What I used to do was spot it and go, oh, well, I'll start again on Monday. Be intentional. All right, so you've had one little blip, and now you're going to write off the whole week. Why not just go, well, I had a blip, I caught myself. I'm going to start again from now. And I'm going to see if I can be intentional for the rest of the day. And it was a real game changer for me, because it meant that actually I allowed myself to acknowledge that there was that sometimes new habits take effort. They take time, and we'll get them wrong. But just because we get them wrong and we slip doesn't mean to say we have to cancel it out for the rest of the day or the rest of the week or the rest of the year. We can just spot it and go, okay, well, what am I going to choose to do now? Now that I've caught myself doing that, what do I choose within my next moment? Because in every moment, there's a choice.
That's right. Exactly. And I think also, as we're talking about resetting for 2025, I'd really like to encourage people to be open to trying things that they haven't tried. And I'll just give an example. One of my family members asked me if I wanted to take a bar class. And I thought, I don't know, it's probably going to be a waste of time. I'm already doing solid core. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing this Stairmaster. I'm lifting weights. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go. And not only did I absolutely love it, I decided to join. So I was sitting there doing my calendar last night, and I was, for the month, and now I have to put in solid core and the bar class. They're 2 different places, and it's like a lot of work, and then to get to the gym in between. But I thought, that makes me so happy, brings me so much joy that that's something that I'm going to put my energy into, things that bring me joy. So when I think about what I want to accomplish in 2025, most of it has to do with growing the business. And also, I really would like to be speaking on stages about elevated listening skills. That's really what my goals are for this year. It's growing this platform, meaning bringing on more people and taking us to more places and bringing on more viewership. And then also being able to take that other side of my business where I'm a coach and I'm an author and being able to speak in different places around the world. So that's what I have on tap for me. Now, with you as a mother, you might have some other personal areas that are more important than the business. I don't know. Do you want to share?
Yeah. So I love those goals. I think they're great, Dr. Jacalyn. I think for me, one of the things that I want for this year is to be more present. So my goal for myself is to be more present and to have more joy, because I think there are so many things that do bring us joy. I love doing this. This brings me joy. I love spending time with my little girl or taking the dog for a walk. Those are moments of pure joy that you can hold on to. And start saying no to things that don't bring me joy. Because I was a dreadful people pleaser that go, yeah, let's do that one. I'm like, oh, I can't think of anything. I'd probably like to do less. And so my goal for this year is to actually reset and go, if it's not something that's going to bring me joy, I don't have to do it. And I can say no, and it's not my responsibility to ensure that that the other person gets to do it, because they can go and find somebody else to do it with that will probably love it. But also to try new things and to have new experiences. So for me, we've just moved, so we're in a new location. We've got a new school. Scarlett's got new classes that have started up in dance and drama and things. So for me, I'd like this year to be full of adventures and opportunities to learn new things.
I love the word adventure. It just brings a smile to my face. And by the way, sometimes people think that looking for joy or surrounding yourself only with positive people. So I've heard people say, well, that's really selfish. People have problems. But it's how you share your problems. It's how you look at it. Maybe it's an opportunity. And I know that sometimes in some cases that's really difficult, especially if it's health related or if you've lost someone, you can never speak to them again. But I do think that we have to find the positives. We have to make it a point to live our life that way. And you and I are both people who focus on finding solutions. And I think there's something to be said about that as we enter 2025. Instead of looking at how it's whatever is happening is causing you a problem, what is the solution? How can you find the solution? Who can help you find that solution? So in the beginning of the show, I was talking about how your career has morphed. Can you tell us about where you are presently and what you're currently doing?
Yeah, so you're right. It's morphed a lot over the years. If I think right back to the very start when I was a hairdresser to where I am now, I can't always make it make sense to me as how it's happened. But now I'm doing a kind of a combination of things. So I'm doing some fractional C-suite work, so helping sort of mid-size organizations to be able to get ready to really scale up. So really making sure they've got the right infrastructure and the right people, culture and environment. Which I love doing. I also I'm still doing coaching, so coaching people to help them get out of their own way or help them to level up their skills. One of the things one of my clients said to me, so the thing that you do best, Kim, is you empower leaders to get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. And I was like, that's really nice to know, because there's plenty of uncomfortable conversations to be had in business. But if we can find a way to be comfortable with them and to do them with kindness, then that's a real passion. As you said, I speak and I'm an author. This year, one of my resolutions is to finally finish the children's book that I have been working on with my publisher to kind of bring to life a lot of the books that we read as adults, to think about mindset and how we can control what's going on in our world by learning to control our mindset and flipping the switch on those moments of problem to solution. How can we fix it? Those moments of sadness to joy can be done by really controlling the way we choose to think about them. And so I'm in the process of finishing the book, which hopefully will bring those concepts to life in a way that is understandable and enjoyable to children Scarlett's age, so sort of like 8 to 11.
That's fantastic. I didn't even know you were working on a children's book. Look at you, adding another thing to your plate.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where I think, you know, it comes back to, you know, those moments in your life. So when I was a little child, very little, so 2 or 3, and my mum tells me this story all the time. We used to live in a little cul-de-sac at the time, and I was forever at the house at the end of the road playing with their children. And my mum used to say to them, their mother, why don't you send your girls down to me? And they were like, oh, no, it's fine. As long as you send us Kim, she'll entertain them for hours making up stories or making up games for them. She said, so we got all our housework done. And then as I was growing up, I used to write, I wrote a series of books. This is very sad, Dr. Jacalyn. I wrote a series of books about characters that I'd created whilst eating a packet of midget gems, sorry. So they were all midget gems, these characters. So my mum has still got a seashell where I'd created one of these characters on it. And now you can't really see the character, but we all know that it was there. And so I guess I've always had this hidden passion that says, I think there's a children's book in there somewhere that is, you know, supposed to help, supposed to add some value. And then I realized when I was bringing Scarlett up, you know, I've had a few occasions where people have gone, you're so calm, you know, in those moments when things go horribly wrong. And I said, well, the thing is, when the child's in chaos, the last thing they need you to do is join them there. You know, they're already in chaos, but that's the moment where we have to make a conscious choice. So, you know, if I can be indulgent, I'll share about Scarlett's one and only toddler tantrum, and I understand how very, very lucky I am that she only ever had one. And with hindsight, it was entirely my fault. I knew she was a bit tired, but I was like, oh, if we could just nip to the shop and get those couple of bread and milk, we won't have to come out again. So I took her in, even though I knew she was tired. And she was walking around pushing one of those little children's shopping trolleys. So she's wandering around like that. But because she was a bit tired, she was all over the place. I mean, it was like, you name it. So I stopped. I put my hand out. I did the worst thing a parent can do in this child's eyes. I touched the adult handle. Well, that was it. All hell let loose. She now threw herself on the floor, which she'd never done, in the middle of this busy store, and started crying. And I remember getting hotter and hotter, and I could feel everybody's eyes on me. But I was like, well, actually, she's in chaos. So even though I wanted to pick her up and run out of there, I was like, that's not going to help us resolve the situation. So I went and stood as calmly as I possibly could, trying not to catch anybody's eye contact, a little bit further down the aisle. And I went, well, I can see that you're upset, but I don't know what's wrong. I don't know how to help you. So I'm going to stand here until you're able to tell me, and then we can sort it out. So I stood there and I was describing the things that were on the shelf, hoping that might, you know, bring her around. And she did no more than crawl commando style, arm over arm, into the centre of the aisle, because she clearly didn't think I could see her or hear her. And I remember looking at her and going, right, Scarlett, I can see you and I can hear you. What I can't do is help you because I don't understand what's gone wrong. So I'm going to stay here so I know you're safe. And when you're ready, you can tell me. And the whole thing probably lasted about 5 minutes. It felt like 5 hours, but probably the whole thing was 5 minutes. And she came over and she stood next to me, racking sobs, you know, and the whole body goes. So I bent down to eye level and I said, can I just ask, when Mummy touched the adult handle, did you think that meant she didn't trust you? And she nodded away, still sobbing. I said, and did you think that meant that Mummy didn't think you were capable? And she nodded away again. And I said, okay, I'm really sorry that that's how I made you feel, because that isn't what I intended. But can you see on the bottom shelf there where you were? And she went, yeah. Can you see how many glass bottles there were? And she nodded. I said, I was concerned you were heading for the glass bottles and that would have hurt you. So I'm sorry if it made you feel like I didn't trust you and I didn't think you were capable. I was just trying to make sure you were okay. And by this point, she's now hugging my leg and the sobs have kind of gone. So I'm still bent down and I was like, do you think we're ready to try again? And she nodded and off we trundled. And we went past this lady who'd been outright staring at me the entire time that this had gone on. and she stopped me and she went, I can't believe how calm you were. And I said, well, if I'm honest, I said, every fibre of my body did want me to run out of here, holding it like an ironing board because of what you and everybody else that's watching might think of me as a mother. But I realised I don't actually know you, and your opinion of me is none of my business. But I am responsible for her until she's an adult, and therefore I have to make the choice that I think is going to be the one that gives her the best chance in life. And so I guess for me, I thought that was perfectly normal. And there's been a few examples of those over the years where people are like, but your ability to spot that situation and then think about what she needed and talk to her in what she needed is really unusual. And I guess for me, that's been a mindset piece that I've had for years, running big businesses and dealing with very difficult situations or redundancies and things, which is that ability to kind of hold the moment and put what I'm feeling to one side to enable me to deal factually with what's going on. And then pick up the emotion and respond with that later, which is for me to deal with.
What a fabulous story. Thank you so much for sharing that. And the way that you responded is brilliant, because thinking about somebody staring at you while there's a meltdown happening. I mean, you think about it, it goes on all the time, especially on airplanes, for example, and the parents there and everybody's staring at them. Why is the kid screaming? Why is the kid crying? And it's about taking the emotion and separating it from finding what is the solution. So I feel like you treated Scarlett like an adult, and you had an adult approach to it. And I think that approach, as opposed to you picking her up like an ironing board, I can just envision that I think the outcome would be completely different, even in the long term of her progress, growing up.
Yeah, I think it's true, because actually what we do is when we're babies, and you want to cry, we're going to cry because it's like that's what it is. But then all of a sudden we kind of teach our children, oh no, you shouldn't cry really, or when they have a nightmare. So I did some of these things, and I was I tried really hard to be a good mum, and then I read a book called The Whole Brain Child, and it made me realize some of the things that I was doing that inadvertently were teaching her things I didn't want her to know. So, for example, then when she cries, you want to pick her up and go, she's fallen over, it's like, it's okay. But actually what that part of what that's doing is teaching them that their emotional response isn't correct, because we're immediately trying to stop it. So now instead, I'll sit her on my knee and I'll go, did that hurt, darling? And what does it still hurt? Is this helping? So we're validating that actually, yeah, it must hurt. It's okay to cry, but you can sit in comfort while you do so. Or when she would say, Mummy, I think there's wolves under the bed, my initial response would be, oh, darling, there's no wolves. Because I didn't want her to be afraid. But again, when I read the book, it explained that actually what you're doing is telling them that was the wrong emotional response. So actually what I now do, if that ever happens, is go, oh my goodness, well, that would be scary, wouldn't it? I don't think I'd like it if there were wolves under the bed. And how else do you feel? So validate the emotion. That's the correct emotion. If there were wolves under the bed, it's okay to be scared. And then go, but I don't think there are any wolves under the bed. So whilst I would feel just like you if there were, I don't think there are any. Shall we check together? So now their emotional response is valid, and yet you've checked together, but actually there were no wolves there. So had there been wolves, that was okay to be upset. Now we've proved there aren't any. We're okay to not have the same emotional response to it. And it's amazing how much quicker you get through any nightmares now.
I think we should bottle that up and sell it. Because the difference of saying to someone, you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, you're making it up, it's all in your head, that person never feels validated. And it's so easy to see in the story that you just shared, because we know there aren't any wolves under the bed, but the wolves take different forms as we get older, right? There's wolves everywhere lurking to get us. No, I'm kidding. So I really
the things that we create in our head are like the monsters under our bed when we were growing up. But if we are constantly unvalidated, we start to doubt ourselves. We start to question every response that we've got as, is this right? Is this wrong? Should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? Instead of learning to trust ourselves, because the only person guaranteed to be with us from the day we were born to the day we die is us. So if we can't become our own best compass, then we're not in control.
And then when we're not in control, what happens? How do we start feeling then?
Well, am I going to say so many times? Well, I often feel if I'm not in control, overwhelmed. I start to over problem solve. So I start to problem solve, and then I start to look for other problems that might come along that I can solve as well, so that I can feel as in control as I possibly can. And I remember at one of the most out of control moments in my life when there was lots that was going on. I'd just become a single mum. I was facing surgery. I'd just started a brand new job. All of that had happened in a 7-day period. So it was a little overwhelming at the time. And I remember one of my friends saying to me, I can't decide if you're incredibly strong or incredibly stupid. I was like, probably both in equal measures, I'd like to think. And she said, but you're so strong. And I was like, no, it's just on the things that I can't control, I've learned to let go because I can't control them. So when my life is completely out of control, I focus on the little things I can control, and I control the living daylights out of those, because it allows me to not feel like I'm in freefall. If there's one little thing I can control, if I can control that, then actually there's still an element of control in my life, even if the bigger things are messy. And for me, I've found that is my anchor. That's the piece that keeps me grounded.
I love that you shared that. And people who are watching or listening later on a podcast can envision something that you can do yourself where you feel you've accomplished something and you feel like you're in control. I just did this last night for 2 years or more. I was writing everything down, and I got away from it last year. I just stopped writing things down. So I wasn't even writing down the production schedule because I have it memorized in my mind. But we have people that have 1 show a month or 2 shows a month. And sometimes I was forgetting. And then I was like, oh my gosh, there's a show in 20 minutes I have to produce. So I thought, I'm writing everything down. And when I saw it all there, I thought, wow, that's really great. I accomplished something. I know what my schedule is. I'm not relying on my memory where I could make a mistake. And I felt productive, and I felt like I was in control.
I love that. And then what I love about it is what we cling to. For some days, for me, a measure of success was I adulted appropriately for 12 hours. And it's like, that might not seem very successful to anybody else, but for me, that was a measure of success. And that was the most I could hope to achieve on that particular day, was if I can just get through and not take what's going on with me out on the rest of the world, and still adult appropriately, do all the things I'm expected to do as a mum, as a friend, as a sister, as a daughter, and all the many hats all of us wear. If I can do those and not drop anything, then that's enough. Because I used to be a victim to needing the goal to be massive, to be really huge. And it's like, why? As long as my goal isn't always just to adult appropriately for 12 hours, if sometimes I need to push myself a little bit more, then it's okay to give myself the self-care that allows me to go, today, that's what I need. And that's okay.
There you have it. That's excellent. I just want to talk a little bit more about being in control, because I've seen people have meltdowns, and I've watched relationships just fall apart because of all of this emotion. So when we're thinking about resetting for success, what are some tips or some skills that you can share with our audience when you feel it coming on, right? You were in the grocery store and you felt like, you feel like you're going to have a breakdown, or you're going to start screaming or crying, but yet you take a breath, control yourself, and then you handle it differently. So for people who are not skilled in learning how to control their emotions, what can you recommend?
Oh, great question, Dr. Jacalyn. I think the first thing is to understand that we think that we're logical, rational beings, and yet our emotional brain responds 24 times faster than our logical thinking brain. And that's been proven neuroscientifically. So one of the things that I do all the time, because I know that, is I'll ask myself, when I feel the emotion coming up, I'll ask myself, what's actually happening? And what am I making it mean? Because that's enough to just tip into, oh, hold on, I'm responding to what I've made it mean. So it's brought something out in me emotionally. And that's what I'm now responding to, that emotion, versus what factually went on, what factually happened that needs to be solved. I've had examples of that over the years. I remember with one particularly challenging conversation, and the person rang me up, and I said, well, look, I'm going to need to take 10 minutes to gather myself, and then I will call you back and we can resolve what needs to happen. And they were like, why do you need 10 minutes? I said, because you've just given me all the evidence that proved all the time that you were making me think that I'd made stuff up, that actually I was right. And all of that was at a time when, I was already facing health scares and everything. So right now, I'm really finding it difficult to come up with a response I'm going to be proud of. So if you can give me 10 minutes, I can go and deal emotionally with what I'm making it mean and what I'm making it feel. And then I'll be in a position where I can help you to solve your issue and your concern. And I remember at the time, the response was, you're such a robot. I was like, not sure now's really the time for character assassination, but I will speak to you in 10 minutes. So for me, sometimes it's catching myself and going, I know right now I'm not going to respond in a way that I'm going to be proud of. And for me personally, I know that once I realize that, if I have responded in a way I'm not going to be proud of, I will have to apologize to that person. And that apology always hurts. It hurts because actually it's because I lost control. And I allowed them to gain control of my emotions and let me do something that I wouldn't normally do if I were in control. So I will sometimes, when I feel it in me, I'll say, right, actually, I need to take myself out of the situation. I need to give myself some space. And even if that's, I just need 5 minutes, or I just need to go somewhere and deal with my emotion and then come back. Or sometimes you can't do that, but catching myself with the what's happening and what am I actually making it mean allows me to just take that moment, pause, and start to see the situation in its totality instead of feel the situation purely from that emotional response.
Let's unpack what you just shared there, because I think there's some really key points. So walk us through, if you would. Imagine we're in a situation right now where something is about to take place. And I could give an example. I told you I don't have any heating, right?
Yeah.
And I finally went down to the office because I filed 20 tickets for no heat. And I've spoken to people. So when I went to the office and spoke with the management, they said they had no idea. They thought it had been resolved. So I didn't really want to go to the office. But anyway, when I was there and I heard that response, inside I felt like, what do you mean you thought it was like, how could you possibly, you have this system set up for me, like all these things. But instead, I just took a deep breath and I said, yes, that's the case. There still is no heat. So I thought about all the anger that I had, and then I felt like I was just dismissed, like, you idiot, we thought you had heat. So I'm thinking, why didn't I come down here early? So anyway, I handled it in a totally different way. And I even thanked the person who was listening, for taking the time to listen, even though inside I still felt angry. So what steps can people take when they feel that rage, that anger, that whatever the emotion is coming on? If you can walk us through, first, breathe, whatever it might be, just basic things that people can practice.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is feel it. Allow yourself to feel it for a moment, but yourself, as in inward. So for me, when I feel whatever the emotion is going to be, whether or not I'm angry or I'm frustrated or I'm overwhelmed, I'll be like, okay, so let me understand what that is. Let me understand what that is. So what is it I'm feeling? And then what's making me feel it? So what is it that's making me feel like that? Because actually, this person in front of me, if we use that situation, Dr. Jacalyn, the person in front of you probably genuinely didn't know anything about it, and the system had failed. You'd followed the system. So the frustration is in the fact that you followed all the right steps, but something had broken down with the system. And actually, this person has the audacity to not know and to dismiss. But if we look at it from a different perspective, actually they didn't know and probably go, oh, I'm really sorry, we had no idea. And once you allowed yourself to feel that frustration, but acknowledged the frustration and then went, okay, but this person in front of me is probably not the thing I'm angry and annoyed at. What I'm angry and annoyed at is that I followed all of the right steps and it didn't work. It didn't happen. It broke down. And I've still been left impacted. I've still been in a house with no heating. I've been cold and miserable for all of this time. And actually, I wasn't allowed to resolve it my way. I had to resolve it a different way. So that meant you got put out. You were forced to go down a route that you didn't want to go down. And therefore, the emotion that felt with that bit is probably all the times where you've had to do something in a way you didn't want to. And that's why I think if you can catch yourself, identify what it is that you're feeling, and then go, I wonder what's making me feel that about this. Because that's back to that, what's actually happening and what am I making it mean? Because what we make it mean is that, you know, if we felt dismissed before and it makes us feel angry and disappointed, then actually every time we feel dismissed, we pull on all of that experience that we've got of feeling dismissed before. And therefore, a very small thing can feel like it's the end of the world as we know it. Because actually what we've done is we've got all of that baggage of experience. Whereas when we start to look at it and go, okay, so it's okay that I felt a bit dismissed about this, because actually I've been trying for 20 times. I've tried to let them know that I've got a heating problem. I followed their process 20 times and I still haven't got a response. So I'm okay to feel frustrated about it, but actually I'm frustrated about that. I'm not frustrated about the person in front of me. What I now want is a resolution. So I think for me, it's learning to that first, identify for yourself what you're feeling, and then why are you feeling it, and what's actually going on right now, and what would a good outcome for you look like? Because if we know what a good outcome for us would look like, which is to get it resolved usually, and we know what that resolution is going to look like, then actually we can usually find a path through. For many years, I used to deal with complaints, and it used to be a standing joke that the customer would come in with a complaint and they'd leave with a different product. And I'd be like, yeah, because the one they'd got didn't do what they wanted it to do. But nobody'd listened to them. Nobody'd asked them, what would a good outcome look like for you? How could we resolve this in a way that you would feel that you'd got a good resolution? And over the years, I've asked that so many times, and you're amazed very often the thing that the person wants, the thing that would resolve for them, is something that's easy for you to give. But we're fearful that they're going to want something that's greater than we want to give. And so we don't ask the question and we don't actively listen.
I love that. That's so true, because it's almost like you have unresolved issues in your past and you're not even aware that they're there. Something happens to trigger it, and then it's an avalanche of emotions. Mm-hmm. Something else I'd also like to add in, I see we're coming to the end of the show, but I'd like to add in setting expectations, and I'll give an example. So I came back from my family's house. I wanted to be here because they were coming to fix the heater, to bring the new heater today. But in my mind, I said to myself, it's very likely because there was a holiday that they're not going to be coming. So instead of thinking to myself, they're going to be here, I thought they're not going to be here. So I got myself dressed together, set up as though they were not coming today, because the heater's in the studio, so I wouldn't be able to be here with you. And I thought, I'm going to plan for them not coming. And so I'm not disappointed, because I expected them not to be here, because it's the first day after a holiday. And if I'm calling an 800 number to get customer service, I expect I'm not going to get the result that I want the first time or with the first person, or that, for example, when I call the website developer company, I expect it's going to be an hour. And so now I've set aside an hour while I'm going to be doing something else. And in dealing with people, I typically expect that I might not get the response that I was thinking of. So how am I going to respond to that? So it sounds like it's a lot of work, but it's really not. I think it's just having a different approach to life instead of feeling like, oh, I'm always disappointed. Well, what were your expectations? Why did you, what caused you to set that expectation? So it's just something that I've been working on. I hope that it'll help someone. But what are your thoughts about it?
No, I like that, because I think once we set our expectation and we set our intention of what we're going to do, then actually we can deal with what life throws at us much easier. And also, when we're setting expectations, it's really helpful if we share them with the other person. So if we have an expectation of what's going to happen and we don't share it with them, it's highly unlikely that we are going to get the outcome that we expected, because they don't know. They're not mind readers. And yet very often we will do this. We'll set an expectation that involves somebody else, but we've not included them within the setting of the expectation. And then we get bitterly disappointed when it didn't happen, but only half of us had the information available to know that was the expectation. So I think it's great that you're kind of like, you're setting them and then go, okay, well, if this didn't happen, then I can plan for it. So now, whether it goes well or it doesn't go well, I've got both avenues covered. Allows you to remain in control emotionally of whether or not that will significantly impact your day, or just goes, yeah, well, at least I've got a plan.
And there's the 4-letter word that I absolutely love, which is a plan. And when we have a plan, and I've shared this before, when I left corporate, I had 3 plans and none of them included the pandemic. So I think having a plan is terrific. I love planning. And what I'm doing today is a little bit differently. I don't plan as far out as I used to. I know when we were in corporate, what's it going to look like in 5 years? What's your book of business going to look like in 10 years? No, I'm not going that far, but I do have a master plan. And then I have pretty much a more tangible daily plan.
I love that. And I think, for me, and I did a lot of years in corporate, but broadly knowing what you'd like it to look like in 5 years at a high level, to then say, well, if I want to be there in 5, in 3, I need to be here. But then actually your next 12 months is more nailed on. And sometimes that's even more nailed on for the next 3, which just allows you to kind of check your progress. And there was a study done, I think it was by Harvard, it was Harvard or Stanford. And they asked people how many of them had got a goal, a specific goal they wanted to achieve. And then they asked the same group of people, how many of you have got it written down? And they then went on to ask, and how many of you have got it written down and have got some actions, even if they're dreadful actions, but you've at least attempted to think of some things that would allow you to move towards the plan. Now, for the group of people that had a written down goal, but no action plan, for the people who had a written down goal and written down actions, even if they were dreadful, outperformed the next group, which was the group that had a written down goal, by 87%. And that exasperated when you looked at the people that hadn't even got a goal of what they were going to achieve. So it's been proven that actually if we've got it and we write it down, and then we continue to focus on it and think about what action can I take that moves me towards it, that's going to be the goals that we achieve.
Thank you so much for that reminder. I have shared my goals, but I'm going to write them down. I'm going to put them on the refrigerator someplace that I can see them on a regular basis. KIM-ADELE, you have helped so many people. Who is an ideal client for you, and what's the best way for people to reach you?
Oh, what a great question. So I guess an ideal client for me is somebody who is already a great leader, but is probably finding themselves frustrated with having to deal with the constantly uncomfortable conversations that are ever increasing in business, in life, in general. The best way you can reach me is you can find all my details on the website, which is AuthenticAchievements.com. You can email me at kim@kimadelerandall.com, or you can get me on most of the socials as either KIM-ADELE Randall or as KIM-ADELE 10. And please just reach out and get in touch. I always love to hear other people's stories, and if I can help anybody, then that brings me joy.
Fantastic. And also for you to interview people on your own platform, can you share a little bit about
So
that?
they can find the details on Authentic Achievements. So if you've got an amazing story you'd like to share, you can you can contact me there to be a guest on my podcast, or also to come onto USA Global TV and radio. And we'd love to share your story here on this platform as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here today and for taking the time out of your schedule as we open up the year together. And I wish you continued success and every happiness and joy.
And the same to you. May 2025 bring you and all of our listeners and viewers health, happiness, and joy.
Exactly. All right. Thank you so much, KIM-ADELE. We'll see you again soon.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. And thank you to each and every one of you who are watching or listening. Please do go to our YouTube channels, which are USA Global TV and Radio, and also Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and subscribe. We'd love to have you in our community. If you'd like to be a guest or you'd like to have a show of your own, you can reach out to us directly. Here's some contact details. There's our websites. And then you can also reach me by email, and I will get back to you myself or someone on our team. All right. Thank you for being here. We're going to close out now with something that I'm quite excited about. For those of you who don't know, I actually teach people how to listen at an elevated level. And we have a whole team of people we call elevated listeners who have taken my courses and are out there in the world really giving people the gift of elevated listening. So if you'd like to learn how to listen, or you'd like to have people in your organization learn some skills so that you have better relationships, deeper connections, or more authentic conversations, please do reach out. Let's take a look, and then we'll be back with our next show. Bye for now.
Have you ever felt unheard? Like your words float into a void, leaving you invisible and disconnected? How about feeling judged, when assumptions overshadow your truth, leaving you misunderstood and defensive? And then there's that moment when someone offers solutions you never asked for, dismissing your feelings and leaving you more frustrated than before. It doesn't have to be this way. Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the listening mentor, understands. She's here to help you reclaim your voice, build stronger connections, and create meaningful conversations that inspire understanding and mutual respect. Through her groundbreaking books, online and in-person courses, and interactive workshops, you'll learn how to navigate life's most challenging interactions. Discover the power of elevated listening and transform how you communicate. Master setting boundaries and asking permission to protect your peace. Learn to recognize and release judgment, fostering empathy and true connection. Dr. Kerbeck also offers personalized coaching, one-on-one or group sessions, designed to fit your unique needs. Whether in person or virtually on StreamYard, her guidance will empower you to thrive. You don't have to struggle alone. The path to deeper connections and better relationships start here. Visit drjacalyn.com or usaglobaltv.com. Join a global community of empowered listeners and transform your life, one meaningful conversation at a time. Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck is the listening mentor. Start your journey today.